What's going on? Welcome back. We are the Whiskey Watchers. I'm Dan.
I'm Jay.
And today, all the way from Turkey Hill, we have our friend. You might know him from our podcast, but we have Matt Polsaway in the house. Matt, thank you for coming.
Yeah, awesome. It's good to be here. So I'm Matthew Polsaway. I'm the U.S. Quality Director for Campari and the head of quality at Wild Turkey.
I'm going to guess that this is not the face you put with the voice, but this is in fact not what I was expecting the first time either. But,
but this is the beard.
that is for sure the beard I was expecting.
Yes.
I mean,
good.
If you're in whiskey, there's a beard involved, I feel
Oh, yeah, this started growing as soon as I started working there.
Took a sip and it just went.
I was going to say, you mean the second you took a sip, it just...
Yep.
All right.
You shave it off, it keeps coming back.
It's like that scene of the Santa Claus.
Exactly.
So I have to tell the story. Before we recorded today, we're out at lunch at a German restaurant here locally, and our bartender was absolutely great. So if you're watching this and you were our bartender at the Gerst House, thank you, one, for your service, and two, thank you for the amazing nicknames. So we have old Gingerbeard, Blackbeard, and
Lightbeard.
Beard Light.
That's awesome.
So that one really struck a tone with me.
Especially considering whenever I forgot my card, she called back, yeah, I've got Beard Light's wallet.
She's looked you up already.
Yeah. No,
my name's not on the card. It's covered up by the sticker.
There you go.
She sent me a message on Facebook. She was like, hey, I have Beard Lights.
She is on it.
That's
awesome.
That's the first thing I do if somebody leaves their card. I go to Facebook. I'm like, nope, Twitter, maybe.
Nope, maybe. Okay. So, we're talking secondary aging, and yes, that does mean, well, rum barrels, Calvados barrels, whatever barrels. But we're talking a little bit about the science behind it. So, Matt, I have to ask, though, before we get to the finishing, what in the world does Turkey have coming up? And can we talk about any of it?
Yeah. So, Turkey's got a lot of stuff going on. We're building a new barrel dump room this year. We're installing a new bottling line. There is also works of a brand new distillery to double our distillation by 2025. We got new rick houses. Campari's recently acquired Wilderness Trail as well. So now we have them under our belt and all of their rick houses. Pretty exciting stuff. We've got 3 limited releases coming out this year. We've got the General Master's Keep that we have every year. This year it's a rum secondary barrel age called Voyage. Then we have another single rickhouse coming out this year, just like we did last year. That's another Camp Nelson rickhouse. And then we have one that's super limited called Generations that's coming out. And this is a pick from Jimmy and Eddie and Bruce independently and then blended together, and it's going to have their signatures. Very, very limited release, so none of us will ever see it. I'll see it being bottled maybe for like a day.
You'll look down upon the bottling line from the heavens and go, yep, that's about as close as I'm going to get to it. And then you'll just go back to your office.
Hopefully they took them all, good Lord. Hopefully they took all 3 of them, put them together and went, let's taste it now, make sure it's all good.
Yeah, right.
And I went, I picked this one, you picked that one, you picked that one. Send it!
No, it is very, very good. I was very hesitant with the price point because this one's north of $300, and I was like, whew, I don't know. Like, guys, it's Wild Turkey. Does that really fit in with everything? And then I tasted it, and I was like, okay, at least it's somewhat justified. I still don't know if any bourbon's worth $300, but
it's going to come with a really fancy box.
It is.
Good, another box.
And it is literally a one-time release, so it's going to be a collector's item. So I guess for that and that it was really, really good, so be it.
Yeah, you pay for what's in the glass and what's in the bottle. So
yep, for sure.
Or
Turkey gets
things
much
to
bigger.
Put on your shelf.
Yeah. Wild Turkey gets much bigger. They're going to have to open up a second building on site and have it call it a micro distillery. Call it Russell's Distilling.
That's right.
That would be kind of cool. Have a little.
Yeah.
That's where all the Russell's Reserve goes through. You have to just push it all over there.
Well, I'm curious if that's not why, Campari really bought Wilderness Trail as well, because of that smaller distillery footprint. Mm-hmm. I mean, they make pretty decent product as well, but then we can get in there and trial some batches because we can't really trial anything on our continuous column the way it's set up.
Yeah.
So secondary aging.
Secondary
So
aging.
specifically, what spawned this was the Master's Keep Voyage. I can tell you, I've tasted it. It's fantastic. It literally does take you on a voyage or a trip. It starts with rum, then it transforms into bourbon, and then it goes back to rum. And it starts with like a sweet, like nice sugar cookie that you might get off of a rum, and then it's just straight wild turkey bourbon. And then you get like a nice estery, fruity finish on the end. So it's really well done. I'm a big fan of rum. There's a lot of good like craft rums coming out right now. Foursquare is a good one. If you haven't tried that, try Foursquare. They're making some fantastic stuff right now. And secondary aging is super popular. It has been for a long time. I mean, hell, it's what drives the Scotch industry, the Canadian whiskey industry, the rum industry for that matter.
Bourbon's really the only industry that has to use a new barrel.
Right.
So you said this voyage starts rum, goes to bourbon, and then goes back to rum. That's a reverse cruise.
Or a voyage.
I don't know if you could call it that either. Isn't a voyage about the destination? I don't.
It's a round trip.
No!
But think about too, like flagship releases, Woodford, they do their double oak. That's a standard release for them. You've got the crazy stuff Maker's Mark's doing, where you can blend almost an infinite amount of possibilities and staves. Heck, New Holland's doing one where they take bourbon and put it in a beer barrel that had beer in it. Super interesting stuff. Angel's Envy, you guys did an episode on that as well. The port. People are even doing honey, maple syrup. By the way, the Blanton's maple syrup is arguably better than the Blanton's.
You hear that? Person I know that really likes Blanton's. You're gonna have to get the maple syrup now.
Give it. It's fantastic. They do make a Pappy maple syrup too, and it was good, but it was almost too oaky. The Blanton's maple syrup was perfection.
I think I've seen that maple
That's
syrup.
all
Is it
based
like
on what batch of Blanton's you get, because those are single barrels.
That's true.
Now, is that the Pappy maple syrup? That's a white label that says like Pappy and Company on it. Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't bought it.
It's good. Both of them are very good. Very well done. Then you got different woods. You got Brazilian Amburana. You've got Japanese Mizunara. You've got French oak that's been, out for a long time. Where's the cognac is what I'm wondering. Where is the Calvados and things like that? Is it right there? It's right there. It's so close.
Calvados.
Nice. I think that's really underutilized, though. I have been trying to push Campari to do a cognac because we own Grand Marnier as well, so it would be interesting, I think, to do some sort of collaboration there.
Oh yeah,
Wild
sure.
turkey finished in Grand Marnier.
No, it would be great.
Yeah.
I think it would be good.
Sweet turkey.
For sure. I was worried about this Master's Keep being too sweet. Wild turkey's funky. As we know, rum's funky, so is it going to be too much funk? Well, not really. I mean, they played together very well.
They're going full disco.
It's a full disco. There's a lot of challenges in the industry, too, with procuring single barrel, or not single barrels, but secondary barrels. Single barrels, too. But, as far as keeping it wet, ordering it in time, if it dries out, it's basically useless. You can't fill it. If it stays too wet, it turns moldy. So there's a whole aspect to the procurement side of the business that's very challenging.
So oftentimes those barrels, do they come in with some of the spirits still left in them, or is it just
if you're lucky?
water?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
The guy at the dock, yes, lucky.
Oh my gosh. So I was trying to find, some hardcore science behind it. Because as we know, bourbon it's a solvent. So generally it's going to just extract whatever you're putting in there. Tequila, port wine, whatever your secondary barrel is. But I was trying to find some science into what's actually happening with those chemical reactions. There's really not a lot out there. I was reading a 44-page paper at like 12:30 last night.
As one does.
As one does, right? I did find a couple interesting aspects. So there's transesterification that happens. There's talk of pyrolysis. When you char the barrel, you're getting different oak sugars, wood sugars, carbohydrates that are happening. There's volatile compounds. Wood's porous, right? So this is kind of obvious, but I didn't really think about it. So wood's porous, so when you char it, you create those volatile compounds that get trapped within the wood. They don't just flash off. So that could be why one barrel is completely different than the other. And that always baffles us in the industry because we will take the same distillate, the same coopered barrels, put them on the same rick in the same rick house for the same amount of time, and they're completely different. And we're like, what the hell? So
I guess that also depends on what kind of accelerant they're using to light their fires, too, as a distillery.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. There's a lot of interesting technology going on right now. I mean, they used to just flame them with a gas torch, but now there's studies into infrared and all that kind of stuff.
Infrared charred barrels. Wouldn't that be weird?
The Maker's 46 stave is actually infrared toasted.
There you go.
Huh.
So
It does make a difference. It does make a difference. And then I ran across something last night that kind of gave me an epiphany, but it's called Fenton chemistry. And I was like, I've never heard of this, being a chemist myself, but it's essentially the introduction of small amounts of metal that will cause an oxidation reaction to occur. So think about distillate picking up small amounts of copper from the still, right? The oak wood is growing in the forest. It's picking up trace metals and minerals from the soil, right? So with the introduction of oxygen to this, it's actually causing things to break down into what might be perceived as a smoother flavor. So we get a lot of these secondary aged products that are perceived on our palate to be smoother, and it could be related to this. And there was freaking one sentence in this 44-page paper that said, this could be related to secondary aging. More should be explored. And I was like, hell yes. Like, to me, that is science. So in conclusion, we have no idea what is actually happening with secondary aging. But to me, that's totally exciting, right?
And look, you said metal shavings in the wood. You said oak trees growing out of the forest. My first thought immediately was chainsaw, table blade, cutting them down to size.
You know, that I literally, part of this paper, there were 2 pages on how to cut the wood and how that adds variation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this was a bad paper.
Somebody did some serious research. That's
did.
the kind of research that puts you on the medical field of whiskey.
That's right.
So speaking of whiskey, we have a couple finished products here. Let's try them.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is from the Family Reserve release from Starlight Distilling Company here in Indiana. They're bourbon whiskey finished in rum barrels. Really, really tasty when I got to sample it at the gift shop. Yeah,
I have not had
that's
this.
the word I'm looking for.
Distillery gift
So
shop.
this is coming in at 113.7 proof, and for their family releases, they try and dig into their older stocks. So this one's actually 5.5 years old.
I almost pulled to look and see what proof this blood oath is, but I figured that out when I remembered the name.
Wait, why am I putting a cork on this dang thing?
Yeah, don't do that.
I'm being rude over here. So this one is actually finished in Barbados rum casks.
All right. That's a good area for rum. That's for sure.
Like Barbados, I know, is a Futurama character.
Yeah.
That's sweet on the nose.
It is super sweet. Definite sugar cookie, brown sugar.
Snickerdoodle.
You're picking that up from the rum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good amount of rum on the nose, really.
Yeah. Yeah,
but it's still bourbon.
Yeah.
That's good. How many years?
5.5 years.
5.5.
And the amount of time in the secondary barrel is undisclosed.
And that's what's interesting, too, is it doesn't really take long in a secondary barrel. You don't need more than a couple weeks, actually, to have that. Because most of your chemical reactions have already taken place over the 5.5 years of aging, right?
Yep. I know Maker's Mark finishes 46, and the private select barrels were additional 8 weeks. But that is in a climate and temperature-controlled cave.
Right,
So
right.
it might take a little bit longer to interact with those staves.
We did this Master's Keep voyage at, I think, 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah, I think it might have been 5.
Straight month.
Straight month. I don't think it was supposed to be that long, but we got busy.
I mean, somewhere between 4 weeks and 5 weeks. That's a straight month.
So overall, I think this is pretty tasty, but
I do.
But I wouldn't think that this was finished in rum if it were given to me blind.
Mm-mm. I wouldn't either. I would think, oh, it's just a high corn mash bill.
High corn, very, very low rye.
I would think there's something there, but there's no way that blindly I could say, yep, that's a rum
What is that,
barrel.
a 4 grain?
Right.
So tasty in its own right.
Very good, though.
But like I said, blind, I would not say that's a rum barrel finish.
I'd say what happened with the barrel.
I'd almost not
what
finish
happened
that
to it?
in rum. I'd almost just age it for a little bit longer and release it as a bourbon. It's
Right.
a very good base
Very, very
spirit.
tasty.
Mm-hmm.
So we do this thing on the channel called Purchase, Pour, Pass.
Okay.
So let's run down this now that we've kind of thought about it, tasted it, nosed it. Where are you on this, Matt?
So I would go for the pour of it because it is very good and it is unique. And the only reason I wouldn't purchase, because I would almost purchase, the only reason I wouldn't purchase is it's it doesn't have if I want the rum out of it, I'm not getting the rum necessarily as much as I would like to have if that's why I'm purchasing this. So I that's the only reason I'm passing on the purchase.
Okay. So Jake, where are you at?
I'm going to get a pour, but if I was getting a pour and this was at the right price and I tasted it like that, I would for sure say, do you have any of this sitting on the shelf?
Yeah, that's true. How rare is this bottle?
These are only released once a year.
Mm.
Specifically, the Family Reserve releases. They release those on Repeal Day, so December 2nd.
That's why it comes with that Christmas ornament.
I was going to say, do you always get the Christmas ornament?
They do always have some kind of a medallion or something on it. Last year, I think it was wood. This year, it looks like copper.
Because of the rarity, that might push me into the purchase area.
So, I mean...
I do like Christmas tree ornaments.
But...
no, it is a very good base spirit, though.
But obviously, I did purchase... I wasn't at the actual event. They had these a few weeks after the event, and we made our way up there. And I picked that up after I, of course, had a taste at their tasting bar. So,
nice.
Based upon a pour, which is what I'm going to tell you to do on this one, I did, in fact, purchase.
Yep.
Because, I mean, this is the only time you're really going to find a lot of those older age Starlight bottles. So, even though their stuff is not bad at 4 years.
No. For that being 5.5, that's fantastic.
I want them to get an 8-year and just release it as a straight bourbon and see what happens.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Go to Starlight. Check it out.
Check them out.
Take your kids. They've got a playground.
Yeah,
That
they got a
really
playground.
do. Yeah.
Farmer's market, ice cream shop,
It's a
pizzas.
cool place.
Petting
Pizzas.
zoo on occasion.
Yeah. Pretty
Cool
cool.
place.
Really, really cool place.
So what do we have here, guys?
So you were talking about casks you wished you saw. This is
Yeah.
actually Blood Oath Pact 6.
Yes, sir.
The cognac cask finish. So, as you know, every year around April, May, Luxrow releases the Blood Oath limited edition.
That's better.
Listen to that cork pop. And this is the year before they transition to the new cork style. So that is 100% cork. Like even the top of it is just cork. They were having a lot of issues with breakage.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And so they transitioned to a wooden top, more traditional, like you would see with Wild Turkey or Elijah Craig or something like that.
Is the rest of the cork synthetic?
I do not know.
Well, I mean...
Doesn't look like it.
This is a pack 6, right? There's a pack 7 laying right here. Let's find out.
So...
I'm one of the few people you'll meet that sniffs corks, so...
No.
Part of my job.
It's for science.
That's right.
So this is a blend of a 14-year...
Yeah, there you go. I mean...
14 years.
14 and 7-year. The 7-year being finished in cognac.
Oh, wow.
And then married with the 14-year.
Doesn't say what cognac, though.
It does not specify cognac.
Come
where
on,
they get it.
distillers. Like, they never disclose, like, where the barrels are coming from.
To me, that's kind of the mystique of this.
I
Because
guess so.
it's Blood Oath.
I can see that.
This very rare pact will never... Actually, what does it say? This rare pact shall never again be made.
Well, yeah, because you don't know where it's from.
So...
The reason they do that is because they actually do sign a blood oath with the distiller of the cognac every year.
Nice. I've recently gotten very much into cognac. That's an interesting world. If you want a world that is even more regulated than bourbon, go to cognac. Crazy stuff going on there.
I can't ever say that I've had just a straight glass of cognac.
Oh well, spicy.
It smells nice.
It is very nice. Changes a little bit on your palate.
That is rather tasty.
That's definitely different. I would almost, but again, in a
Where's the
blind
cognac?
tasting, would you say, "Oh, yep, that's cognac"?
I would really just say that.
I would guess this is finished, but I couldn't tell you what it's finished.
I would say it's almost finished in rye, if anything.
Yeah,
'cause
like
it's
in a
got
rye
a
cask?
sharp, like spice punch to it.
It's like just whoa, and then
Mhm.
whoa.
See, I think the younger bourbon might have been a high rye bourbon, the 7-year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
But again, it's a blend of a couple different bourbons, and I would argue rye. I don't get much cognac at all.
Mhm.
There is a little different taste in there, and I assume that's probably where the cognac's coming from. That's definitely not bourbon, but I can't say it's cognac.
I mean, it's missing something. You know what I mean? To me,
So what do you think on this one?
could be sweeter, but I have a sweet tooth anyway.
It could be though. Cognac. I mean, that's one of the aspects of it, right? So
I don't know.
it definitely. Well, it is.
All right.
see, I honestly can't say I've ever had straight cognac
Right.
either. I mean,
yeah.
I was raised on whiskey. I'm a true American. My
that's-
family was the one.
It's the whiskey
you were
of
teething.
France.
Oh yeah, your teeth are coming in. Well, just rub that whiskey in there.
That's right. That leaves the pain.
So, again, like you said, I wouldn't put this as cognac. There is something different about it,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately, I would just say this is more of a high rye bourbon.
But that depends on the cognac too. I mean, think about how many cognac distilleries there are. I mean, it's almost as bad as bourbon. I mean, there's
Really?
hundreds of different small craft cognac makers. So we could just be ignorant of what's actually in here as well. That's a possibility.
So, Jake, what are you thinking? Purchase, pour, or are you passing altogether?
I would say pour. It doesn't impress me enough that even if I tasted it, I would be like, oh, I've got to have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's worth having a pour of.
Definitely. It's very unique. I can't really actually pinpoint what that flavor is that's in there, but it's not a bad flavor. I wouldn't buy it, but I would go with the pour.
And, well, I think I'm going to make it 3. I mean, I always get a pour of these, even if I can't, find one. I like the series enough to where I do actually just buy them.
Yes.
But after having a taste of it and, getting to enjoy it with people, I would recommend you get a pour of this before.
Have you had a bad blood oath?
At first I thought the batch
I
7
with the devil.
At first I
Terrible.
thought batch
Not
7 wasn't all that great, but once it got a little bit of air in the bottle, it's turned out to be something pretty cool.
Isn't it funny how that works?
Yeah.
Oxygen.
Oxygen,
That's fentanyl.
oxygen.
It's fentanyl coming after you.
Eureka.
Yeah,
We
very
have
much.
discovered
Not the
it.
urethra.
So
Wrong biology.
Oh!
I think that's going to do it for us today. We want to thank our sponsor of this episode and other episodes in the future, the Thief Fine Wine, Beer, and Spirits. And I want to thank Matt for coming and hanging out with us.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
It's been a fun one. Talk about finishing. Look for those Wild Turkey products in the back room of your local, maybe, liquor store, if they can get a hold of them.
Everywhere. Or my house.
Or his house.
The local street dealer.
Wherever that is. But
And it's been a fun one. Thank you again for coming.
Sure.
And until we drink again, guys, I'm Dan,
I'm Jake.
And I'm Matthew.
reminding you to share a pour with your friends and family because much like the movies,
Memories don't make themselves.